international schools, lovely students, the Mann family, and all the distinguished co-speakers. It's a real privilege to be here amidst you for this very revolutionary idea of technology, entertainment, design. Let us see how technology, entertainment, design moved over the last 2,200 years in a completely different context. Let me ask a few questions. Have you heard the name of Ashoka? Come on. The king Ashok. You have. Did you know he has a Chinese name? Anybody? No. He's got a Chinese name because he is worshipped in China in a temple at Ningbo. His Chinese name is Ayu Wang. Imagine, 2,000 years back. Did you know, like Char Dhams in India, there are Char Dhams in China, much like the Char Dhams in India? Did you know the world's first printed book on paper was found in a cave in Dunhuang in the distant Gansu province in China dating to 9th century? Do you know what is the name of the book? It's called the Diamond Sutra, the Prajna Paramita Sutra. Did you know Saraswati is worshipped in Japan as Benzaithe? Did you know the word Dalai Lama comes from the Mongolian word of Da, big, lie in ocean, was given to a Tibet monk scholar by the name of Sonam Gyatso, and he was anointed by Altan Khan, the descendant of Genghis Khan, as Dalai Lama, man of great knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is a story of how art and architecture, philosophy, spirituality, universality, Vasudev Kutumbakam moved from India to much of Asia through the Silk Road. And over the last 2,200 years, this is based on a travel account which I did of travels of 6 years of close to 100 destinations and 5 years of producing this work. Let me begin the navigation of this wealth of what transpired between civilizations, a dialogue through the first route. I divide this into 6 streams. The Silk Route, this starts from Shaolin, Luoyang, and ends up at Kashgar, right across the Karakoram Pass. This is the story of AD 67, the Chinese Emperor Mingdi of the Eastern Han Dynasty. He has a dream of a golden angel. He asks his ministers, tell me, what did I dream? How would they know? Sir, we know it's a Buddha in the West. Get me more information. And soon, ladies and gentlemen, these 2 bald-headed Indian monks, Dharmratna and Kassapa Matanga, were escorted by the Chinese envoys all the way from the Fargana Valley, modern-day Uzbekistan, which also was Buddhist in influence. And they were from central India, and they brought sutras to China, Luoyang, which was the capital, and the emperor built the famous Temple of White Horse. Longmen grottos, not far from Luoyang, very close, are an example of great colossi built in the 6th and 7th century, patronized by the most famous dynasty, the Tang, the empress, the only empress China has ever had, Wu Zetian. They say her face resembles the Buddha. She derived political legitimacy. You all know Kung Fu. Tell me anybody who doesn't. Kung Fu, martial arts, right? Famous headquarters of the world is Shaolin Temple in China, Shaoxi Hills. The founding father of Shaolin, this is something you may not know, was an Indian monk, Bodhidharma, who went from Kanchipuram, was born a Pallava dynasty prince, abandoned the thoughts of king and became a monk and spread the good word around. And he introduced what is called as Chan Buddhism, which in Japan became known as Zen Buddhism. And these are words derived from dhyan, meditation, without any sutras or scriptures. And he also introduced Kalari Paitu, the Kerala martial art, to China, which blossomed as Kung Fu. Xuanzang or Huangshan, you've read in history books about Huangshan Fayan, but you surely have not known Indian monks traveling in the other direction. He's the most famous celebration of this exchange between civilizations. He traveled India from 628 to 645 AD in an era when there were no aeroplanes, no mobile phones, no satellite phones. He came all the way along the Silk Road, the deserts of Taklamakan and Gobi, nearly died, went back with sutras, established the big wild goose pagoda. Dunhuang caves in China, where that book Diamond Sutra was found, there are 750 caves, 2,000 sculptures, 45,000 square meters of frescoes. The art which was born in India in Ajanta and Ellora blossomed as it moved down the Silk Road. Lost cities of the Silk Road, Karakhoja, Yarkotho, right across the Karakoram Pass, which were all Buddhist, They housed Huan Shan when he was coming to India. These are a part of a province called Xinjiang of China, and this was an independent country. The king did not want Huan Shan to go further to India and wanted instead to spread knowledge in his area. Bezekli Caves, another example. And these are the beautiful people of the Silk Road who embody this concept of oneness, who assimilated these experiences. Today they are Muslims, of course, but they retain their egalitarianism, cosmopolitanism, and affection. The second thread runs from Beijing all the way to Ulaanbaatar, the north-south trading route of East Asia. And here, ladies and gentlemen, you will find one of the 4 holy dhams of China, Wutai Shan. Wutai means 5. This was established in AD 68, 1 year after the first recorded temple in Luoyang. And here they worship Manjushri. Manjushri is like Saraswati. She's got a Chinese name. She's called Wenshu. She holds a sword in her right hand, and she has a Prajna Paramita Sutra in the left. Chairman Mao Zedong, before taking over as the People's Republic of China chief on 1st October 1949, went and paid homage here as per famous Indologist Padma Bhushan Shri Lokesh Chandra. Yungang grottos built in the 5th century, again in Datong, the ancient capital of China, by a tribe, by a kingdom, dynasty called Northern Wei, which was founded by Mongolians called Tuoba. Yungang grottos, see the fine statuary inside, much like the Alchi caves in Ladakh. Genghis Khan's personal secretaries were bhikshus. They were Buddhists, and they introduced Buddhism in Mongolia. Bhikkhus, they were Uyghur people from Chinese Xinjiang, and the Uyghur word for bhikkhus is bakshi. Notice the bakshis in India now, and you have an example of cultural fusion. Sichuan, the third thread runs across the western China. From Chengdu, near that, is world's highest rock-cut Buddha standing tall at 233 feet. Most of these places I'm talking about are World Heritage Sites, including this one, built in the 8th century at the confluence of 3 rivers. The ear alone is 8 meters. Notice the similarity in the Ladakh area with Mulbeg Buddha. All these photographs were taken by me over a period of 6 years. The second holy dham in China, Shan, they worship Samantabhadra, the bodhisattva of universal action and truth. Located, obviously, on the top of a beautiful mountain. Everybody knows this. The Kailash and the Manasarovar in Tibet, the roof of the world, which has bred the Indian civilization in much of Asia, for it has given birth to 4 rivers, Indus, Satluj, and Karnali. We come to the 4th leg, which passes through southeast China into Taiwan, and the famous exponent of art architecture here is the Tiantian Buddha, a modern statue, 23 meters high, made of bronze, built in 93, modeled on the highest rock-cut Buddha we just saw, the Dafo of Leshan, and the Kamakura's Buddha in Japan. This is Foguangshan in South Taiwan. Now look at there's an ancient temple and a modern temple complex built there with a museum, and you will see the story of a lady. These are Indian Jataka stories depicted in paintings out there in the temple, grieving. The lady is grieving. She's lost her young son. Death has struck. She comes to Buddha. Buddha just tells her, please go to any house where death has not happened and bring me the normal grass. She goes, she fails, she comes back. She's understood. Not a single such house. She doesn't grieve anymore. We come to the land of morning calm as the 5th route in East Asian circuit. And here again, the Korean monks went to China, came back with sutra scriptures, founded monasteries, and as per the accounts of some Chinese travelers, they even came to India and then back to China. And this is an example of that, the Tongdosa temple, started by this Korean monk called Jajang, 646 AD. Likewise, Byomyosa, started by Uisang in, again, 7th century. And Hainsa. All these are World Heritage Sites where world's oldest book, not printed on paper this time, it's printed on wooden blocks, 84,000, 2 feet long, 1 feet wide, few inches thick. And what is the text? 800 years old, preserved in a natural dehumidifier. It is yet again Prajna Paramita Sutra, the wisdom, Seogram grottos in Korea. And finally, we come to the land of morning sun, the Japan. Look at this World Heritage Site, the Golden Temple of King Kakuji, much like our Golden Temple in Amritsar, is it not, Mr. Mann? And this is an exponent of Zen Buddhism. The Todaiji of Nara was consecrated in 775. Nara was the ancient capital of Japan before Kyoto became one. And there was a plague, and the emperor had to do something. He summoned his men, and they made this beautiful bronze, something like 400 tons of bronze and 137 kgs of gold. And they got an Indian monk, Bodhisena, who was traveling in Wu Taishan in China, was invited by the Japanese ambassador to China, and he did the Abhishek. The Kamakura Buddha, again a 13th century structure. And now, in conclusion, we're coming to the most famous exponents, symbols of this exchange. The famous, what are these? Come on, this everybody should know. I want to hear a chorus. Gandhi ji ke teen bandar, right? Now, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. These were children surprisingly introduced to Gandhiji by a Japanese monk, Fuji-san. And this Japanese monk, when he introduced this, it's a Buddhist concept. These are in a temple in Nikko in Japan. He asked Dr. Raghuvira, the famous Indologist, what do monkeys mean in Indian mythology? He says they know no guile, they are innocent. And the rest is history. This became one of the pillars of the non-violence, the Ahimsa movement, and it's a core part of Oriental Buddhist philosophy, Indic philosophy. Look at the Hanuman and the Chinese Monkey King, Sun Wukong. Xuanzang's travels resulted in an epic called A Journey to the West, a fictional account of his travel records written in the 16th century, where a monk called Tanzang comes to India with a monkey king to support him, a buffalo, a pig. So, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, the message coming, reverberating across the mountains of Asia, East Asia, and India over the last 2,200 years is of oneness. It is of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. It is that the whole world is one family. It is what the Honorable Prime Minister says in G20 when he fixes the logo, one earth, one family, one future. What is it that we need to do? This holds the key to solving three fundamental things afflicting the world: the conflict in society, the violence, excessive individualism, insecurity. When we start feeling all of us are one, not just human beings, all sentient beings, the entire cosmos is one. The greed, anxiety, lust, jealousy, those evils, they disappear. And we start thinking collectively. Compassion takes birth in our minds, and all our actions are guided by that. Environment is then safer, we conserve flora and fauna, the climate change is fought better, and eventually we develop, through meditation and oneness, the attributes of resilience for individual purposes, for society purposes. And finally, I'm reminded of John Lennon's song, because the theme is universal. It has no religious language, and that is imagine. Imagine if there was no nations, imagine no heaven, no hell. Imagine if we were all one, and the earth would be such a better place to live. Thank you very much for your patient attendance. I hope you enjoyed this.